I love the shoes. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, I can do. I'm sorry, no.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Whatever you guys set up. Nothing personal.
No.
Can I just
It's okay.
Trevor, can I just start the meeting?
Yes, you may.
Yes.
You have a quorum.
Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. We have invocation by Pastor Scott Moore.
Hello. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that started off stormy, but we thank you for the sunshine that you provided. Father, we thank you for those that are gathered here today in leadership. It's already been a long day for them in their real jobs and in extra meetings on this day. And Father, we just thank you for their dedication. Thank you for their desire to serve our community and to serve you. And Lord, we ask that you would keep them in a good intellectual state, focused on hearing from the community and making the decisions that continue to drive our community forward. Father, we thank you for those that will be in the audience that will be a part of this time. And we ask that you would guide their thinking as well, and you would guide their speaking, and that everything would be productive and helpful, again, for moving our community forward. Father, again, we love you. We love our community, and just ask for your presence here today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Roll call.
Pickle. Green. Ford. Parks. Wimpy.
Here. I'd like to call Troop 10 up to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all stand, and he will lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
Thank you, sir. Good job. All right. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it stands.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. 7A, presentation by Oklahoma Municipal League and recognition to city employees for reaching 25 years of service. Ms. Kelly Cox.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, Mr. Spurgeon, Kelly Cox, Human Resources Director. Each year, we have the privilege of having OML, a representative from OML here to recognize our employees who have reached the milestone of 25 years of service. This year, we have Joyce Calvert, who is the mayor of Glenpool. She is representing OML, and she is going to recognize those employees that we have with us this evening, and also those that are not able to be in attendance, and give them a quick bio.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Are you going to have those that are not in attendance? Is someone accepting for them?
No.
Or no, not tonight?
Yeah, we don't have the awards with us for them. We'll just
Yeah. If you
recognize
want to
them.
do it at a later
Yeah,
date, I'll be
sure.
happy to come back.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm just going to point out that she's my favorite female mayor.
Mayor, councilors, it's nice to be with all of you tonight. I'm Joyce Calvert. I'm with the Oklahoma Municipal League out of Oklahoma City, and I'm here to present your employees that have been with the city for 25 years. What an exciting thing to celebrate. And I've got several here that they tell me will not be in attendance tonight, but I'd like to read those people. Not attending is Andrew Field. He's a firefighter specialist. He started in June of '99. Nathan Kinsey, also a firefighter paramedic, started in June of '99. David Meeks, firefighter, started in June of '99. Gary Stepp, fire lieutenant, started in June of '99. You guys are going to have a bunch of them come up for 25 because everybody started in '99. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan, police sergeant. Kevin, is it Huntsberger? Mm-hmm. Police officer, and David Marlowe, who is the water reclamation superintendent. So all those people are not here tonight, but if we have the awards, you feel free to call me and I'll come back and present those. Okay. I'd like to call Kim Bailey forward. Kim is a risk management coordinator. How are you, Kim? My pleasure. Good, thank you. Kim started at the police department, the police records department in '99. She moved to finance as a utility services clerk in 2001, and then landed in human resources in 2006. She's currently the risk management coordinator. You can do all the jobs. You could probably take the mayor's spot. Here's your award. Thank you for your service to the city. And we have a pen for you. Next on our list is Russell, and someone's going to have to, is it Silger, facility supervisor. Would he come forward, please?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, you want to accept for him? Russell recently retired in December of '24. That's probably why he's not here. And during his tenure, he was a big part of the team that took care of the aquatics and the playgrounds and the park facilities for the city of Broken Arrow. He was a big part of what keeps Broken Arrow the beautiful city that it is. And here's his award. They're very pretty. And here's his pen. Thank you. Thank you for accepting for him. The other one that we have is Stephen Smith. He's the police captain. Is Stephen here, please?
Yes. He's a classmate of mine, by the way. Class of 1990, Broken Arrow High School.
Mr. Smith. All right.
Hi, Stephen. Joyce Calvert with Oklahoma Municipal League. It's my pleasure to be here. He is Captain Smith, started as a recruit in October of '99. In 2015, he promoted to sergeant. In March of '23, he then promoted to captain. He is one of the reasons Broken Arrow is known as one of the safest cities in Oklahoma. Congratulations. We're very proud to honor you tonight. And here's your pen. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And last but not least is Lisa Smith, 911 dispatch. I think we may need a dispatcher. Should I meet with her after the?
Hey, she can set you up a really good dispatch, but we're not giving you to her. We're
Yeah,
not
no,
letting
she
you have
can't
her.
go.
Lisa
Yeah.
Joyce Calvert. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Lisa has started in August of '99 as a 911 dispatcher. She is police, fire, medical, and animal control dispatcher. She's also a communications training officer, and she serves as a relief supervisor. Lisa is also a graduate of COBA University and currently in the Leadership Broken Arrow program. Wonderful. Here's your award. We're happy to present it from the Oklahoma Municipal League. Thank you for your years of service to your city, and here's your pin to go with that. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I thank each of you for having me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce.
I just spied Cecil Ray over there in the corner.
See over there, we sure is. He's kind of even what you have to say.
Okay. Well, I appreciate OML doing this for our employees. It's very special across the state for them to do that, so. And for Mayor Calvert coming from Glenville all the way. All right, item 7B is presentation concerning proposed restrictions of municipal biosolids handling within 2025 legislative sessions regarding Oklahoma Senate Bills, Senate Bill 3 and Senate Bill 268 and House Bill 1726. Tim Robbins.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. I am Utilities Director Timothy Robbins here for the city. It's quite unique for us to be presenting in Council versus Bama, so it's obvious very privileged. We wanted to come to you this evening and talk to you about, just as you said, legislation that is currently in process that will have impacts to biosolids handling for the entire state of Oklahoma. These three legislative bills, SB 003, 268, and House Bill 1726, all relate to items retaining to biosolids and the chemicals called PFOS and PFOA. So really to go through this chemicals and that process, I wanted to kind of set some stage and just kind of talk to you about each one of those elements and their process. And I am going to try to attack this at a 40,000 foot elevation view to really be respectful of your time. There's a lot of information here, so please, I'm going to try and go through this briefly, but please feel free to ask any questions during the process here. So the first thing that we need to talk about is biosolids. So these bills all present to biosolids. So what is biosolids? The biggest thing to keep in mind here is biosolids are the the nutrient-rich organic materials, the bio portion of that. This is what comes from the concentrated cleanings of the sewer stream. So these are elements that we have processed through the entire wastewater stream. So we have processed it, we have separated it from the liquids, and this is the organic matter. There is two different determinations in these bills called sludge and biosolids. They are essentially the same thing. They are described by EPA as the same. It's just in these bills they're used a little differently. The best way that we can interpret these is one being a liquidy based, a more process based, and then the biosolids being the secondary processes, something with a mechanical or chemical treatment that will go to the secondary use, which is typically either land application, incineration, or landfill placement. So the thing to keep in mind here is how this process works. So I tried to kind of hit this at a very high level. There's a lot of elements behind here, but as the treatment flow comes into the plant, it'll hit primary treatment, and all that organic matter is where we have mechanical and chemical and biological processes to get this, the organics and compositions to come out. We've already screened it, taken all of the plastics, all of the non-organic parts, and pulled that out. Goes into solids and digestion. This is all a very large process of chemicals and biologics. And then those elements are then taken into the processing for biosludge. And that biosludge in this depiction is taken for a biosolids application, where you would see a tractor and a liquid applied for field application. Our system at Lynn Lane, so that system you just saw, is something typical to Oklahoma City process and the Tulsa process. The city of Tulsa primarily has land application. Our process is a dewatering, biosludge dewatering, and land, not land application, but landfill placement. So we, as you see in these pictures, and Councilor Pickle just recently got to see with me on Friday.
That's right.
This is a state-of-the-art process where we have a brand new filter press, and we press out as much water out of that product as we possibly can, so that we can have like a potting soil style consistency that has a very organic smell to it. That is where we can get all that water out and then haul it to the landfill, so that we're not paying to place water in a landfill. So that's what this process is, and that's how we have it. In the left there, you can see our trucks where we haul that to the landfill. So throughout the state, there are varying degrees of how we handle biosolids. Biosolids in the state of Oklahoma, this is a biosolids project that was done recently. While it's from the 2018, the processes haven't changed that much in the state. 80%, because of our agricultural land, 80% of biosolids in the state are actually land applied in lieu of landfill. So the other 17% where we fall at Lynn Lane is 17%. And then the other part is what's called Class A, which is actually a compost. So that's a further treatment and then incorporating into a compost for high-level organic fertilizer. Throughout the United States, it's important to note that there's over 40% of the United States all land applies, vice versa, with the remainder being landfill burial, incineration, which is not really common in these parts, but more in the Northwest where they don't have the farm ground that we have that we can actually land apply in. So it's kind of wanted to really point that out of how much current processes have within this within Oklahoma and this region are very similar to what you see in Oklahoma. So kind of moving to the other part of what these bills are handling is called PFOS and PFOA. So those two chemicals, I will absolutely butcher their names, but they are a fluorinated chemical. These are chemicals that are dating all the way back to the 1930s in the creation, the accidental creation of Teflon. So these are what's called surfactants, and they bind, they help you bind. That's what's really good about Teflon. Those are also the reasons why they are struggling in the environment right now, because they'll bind. They're called forever chemicals because they will bind onto things. They will stay within the environment until you mechanically destroy them or pull them out. So they have been associated, as you've heard on the news, you've heard on a lot of stuff. In fact, we've talked about it before. They have been linked to serious health concerns, including cancer, liver damage, and developmental issues. So they are serious. We want to take these very seriously and address them appropriately. So where has this taken us? Where has this led us to? So in throughout the government stylings, the past administration, you've seen they've gone to large-scale regulation. That is what they've pushed for. EPA, that is the whole purpose of EPA. In the current administration, you're seeing more of a push-down regulation style. We're wanting it to go down to the states. And that style has led us to where we're at right now with where EPA is. EPA has, over the last few years, taken a very concentrated view on the PFOS/PFOA problem in drinking water. Last year, we saw the first regulations come out on drinking water standards for PFOS and PFOA and set limits, and we have a certain time period to get into those limits and testing, and then set limits on what you can see in drinking water. They have set that. It's very clear what we have to hit, and we'll be talking about that later this year. They have not done that with biosolids. The only biosolids program that they have done is a draft report that is a very concentrated view of a very specific situation that they will take and then go into the next steps of that process that are years and very scientific based on observations, tests, etc. So with that being, the science is constantly evolving, and each state is having to take their own approach on how they want to handle it. And the best way that I can explain this, it may mean it's right, wrong, or indifferent, this is the way that we're trying to elaborate it is in 3 different modes. A status quo, where it is we're following the EPA regulations that are set right now, which are very limited, and we are continuing to watch for their direction. A more scientific approach where we are taking their known scientific findings and assigning chemical composition limits to that biosolids, or we can go to the farther extreme and a total ban of the products and the uses without that further guidance from the EPA. So each approach has its own unique stylings. The approaches that we have at the Oklahoma Senate through Senate Bill 03 is the immediate moratorium and banishment of land application of biosludge. So that means it's immediate. If this was to pass, immediate passing would mean no more land application across the state immediately, and all permits would be revoked. And that would be till a time frame of July 1, 2028 for further review. 268 takes that aspect and adds to it, it prohibits the sale and distribution or spreading of any biosolid material. It goes on to talk about PFAS and PFAS elements in biosolids in this bill as well, and also sets forth for plans for removal, remediation, and recovery plans of elements addressed within the PFAS concerns. House Bill 1726 is a combination of all of the above with the Senate. It combines that and puts it over into the House side. So it is immediate, has emergency declarations in there, immediate land application banning, as well as discussions of PFAS regulations and the department directions. So our staff has taken a very detailed review of these bills and their impacts on the utility. We've also coordinated with other agencies within RMUA, so our combined RMUA efforts with us in Tulsa, because as you know, the RMUA has the singular plant at Hakey Creek. So this will affect both of us equally. We've also conferred with all of our state agencies and our friends throughout the state. And from this, we have come up with these 5 main talking points. There is a lot of content to go through and their implications, but we tried to really narrow these down for you. The immediate action of passing of these bills will create a huge financial burden that will become immediately in effect with passing of SB 003. With that, all of those operations that Tulsa has, like we talked about, so Tulsa land applies all the biosludge, which includes Hakey Creek. So throughout their entire district, those biosolids will now have to go to the landfill. Those landfill tipping fees are quite substantial for the product that we will be taking up there. That product will have to be modified. It'll have to be taken to more like that dried cake that we have. That'll have to be done at the landfill because those plants don't have those capital improvement projects to handle that. So we are projecting between $750,000 and $1 million per year for the Bama budget alone, which means that is double that cost for the Hakey Creek RMUA operation. So we're forecasting anywhere between a $1.5 and $2 million operational cost immediately upon passing of those bills for the RMUA operating budget. If you take that, they've kind of tried to extend that out to the Tulsa whole area. The Tulsa operation will be looking at somewhere about $9 million per their operating capital. So. That also, with those increased flows to those landfills, their modifications have to take process. Those additional impacts are going to cost to other waste streams. With those waste streams, we're forecasting that will increase the cost of what we call CSI, the solid waste index. That will increase. We're projecting that will increase. And then we're kind of talking with the waste management folks and them. we would forecast that the cost of dumping at the landfill will increase as well. Speaking of the landfill, there's also additional issues that'll come from there where there's some concern that do they even have the availability to handle this immediate increase of biosolids placement. We have talked with them briefly. They're still looking through that, but there is some significant concern that they don't even have enough room to take this. Again, we place 80% of this in land application. There could be from this, we talked about permitting. It takes a long time to run through permits. So when you go and yank permits, we have to reassign permits. For example, we've been trying to get our 5-year discharge permit. It's been taking us 3 years since it was expired for us to get a new one. It goes at a snail's pace that way. So we're worried about that, as well as unintended environmental and agricultural impacts. That fertilizer, the farmers use this as fertilizer. So that fertilizer that goes on those fields has to be replaced from somewhere. The most likely source would be something to the tune of chicken litter, which would be an economical replacement, but you'll be seeing that as an increase instead of this. Also the other impact with 268 and 1726 would essentially it would incredibly impact or very likely cancel the current municipal project at the wastewater treatment plant at Hakey Creek with the composting. The 268 eliminates the sale of any aspect that includes biosolids, even Class A biosolids that would be. So that one is a $48 million project with USDA grant funds that we don't know if we would lose in that. That conversation, I'll refrain most of that conversation back to the RMUA meeting on the 18th. So with that, our staff has kind of taken a lot of those elements into consideration, and we do agree that PFAS and PFOA are significant concerns. We want to attack them, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe in how we operate. But we want to do that logically, and we want to do that with an equal concentration on how that's going to impact the upstream providers. We want it to be equal against the municipality, the utility ratepayers, but we also want those manufacturers and industries who are inputting a lot of this product into the system. We want them to be at the table to handle this as well. So we would like to advocate for an approach, that style of approach. Instead of pushing this straight to the ratepayers that these three bills would likely do, we want to approach it and advocate for a more holistic approach where we are going to the manufacturers, the industries, the problem as a whole, and lean and push on the EPA to provide for guidance as a whole. So I really just wanted to present this with you, this information, answer any questions you might have, and talk about next steps.
I don't have any questions of it. I know the committee I'm on in Washington, D.C. with the National League of Cities is the Environment Committee. And every year it gets more and more, the problem gets bigger. And they're bringing forth the committee. And I just saw today that they're having a special meeting on Tuesday, because we're in Washington, D.C. next week for meetings. Meeting on Tuesday to talk about this, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The PFAS, where it started, how it's used, and all that. So
Absolutely.
that forever chemical has been prevalent in all of my committee meetings.
Yes, sir. And I mean, it's forever while they say it's forever, there is methods to take it out. It is mechanically, but it is definitely expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I didn't see the agenda since I won't be at the RMUA meeting on Wednesday because I'll be in DC, but I'm assuming you guys we're discussing it then.
Yes, at the meeting next week, we're going to have a presentation from our consultant. They're going to go through it in depth, talking both about the project and then how it actually affects us moving forward. So.
And so then going forward legislatively, we'll need to keep an eye on, or who's keeping an eye on that and talking or getting it out to our legislators about the concerns.
I can tell you that as members of the OML committee, the legislative committee, OML is paying attention to this as well. And we've talked about in our committees And it's interesting, you talk about the forever chemicals, you know, they're trying to do things like get rid of plastic straws and go for paper straws, but yet the paper straws have these forever chemicals in them that bind them together. So, you know, you're six one way, half a dozen another. So, but yeah, it's just something we definitely need to continue to pay attention to and continue to monitor closely, because we don't want something to pass that's going to basically cripple our municipalities.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Tim, do you have any update on what the status of the legislation is? Has it been heard in any of the committees, or is it planning to be heard in any of the committees?
So we are still checking in on 268 and 1726, but we have heard that they have passed about 25% of the way on 003 and 268. But from what we understand, it did not make the agenda for talking in the committee. So it does not look like it will make it out of committee. SB 003 will not make it out of the committee this week, which means it will be for a different time. So it did not make it out of committee, but the text will still be there. It will come back. So.
Well, I just wanted to mention is that you talked about anywhere from about $1.5 million to $2 million increase in operating costs to the city should this become law.
That'll be for to RMUA, yes, sir.
RMUA.
To RMUA as a whole, and then our impact will be half of that.
So about $1 million?
Yes, sir. Between $750,000 and $1 million is what we're forecasting.
Well, if you just use a round number of 42,000 customers, $1 million, you're actually looking at $2 and $3 per month increase to our customers to basically cover the additional costs. And then I wasn't clear what you said about the landfill. So right now, if council knows this, and so do the residents, that we were incinerating at about $14, maybe a little bit less per ton. And then because of the major renovations that had to be made, we're now paying around $28 a ton. So is there a possibility that there could be an increase in the cost of tipping fees? And maybe you've spoken to Jerry, is that I don't even know if the landfills can handle this or would even want it. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the landfills there's a bit of a mixed reaction that we're getting from the landfills. They have a lot of concern. I think ultimately, long range, they could look to handle it, but it's going to take a significant capital investment to be able to handle this product. They will have to modify it. They will have to do something with it. So those tipping costs will increase, and because of those capital investments, all the tipping costs will likely increase. It won't be just for that product. It'll be a trickle-down effect to our solid waste. We have it for the citizens of City of Broken Arrow. We have a singular, what they call the CSI rate, that will go up. So regardless of biosolids versus solid waste.
Is there something you need from us? I mean, I wanted to bring this up because you really boiled it down to where it was very understandable, so thank you very much.
Sure.
Is that, to me, I don't know if there's going to be a hearing, and obviously if it doesn't get through the legislative process this time, doesn't mean it's not going to sometime in the future. Do you need the council to be able to consider a resolution opposing anything like this, and to make sure that our voice is heard about what the financial and operational impact could be?
Yes, sir. We could absolutely come back with that if that's the council's wish. We could generate a resolution explaining our point of views, take the information that we've consolidated here today, and format a very consistent resolution to execute and take to our legislature and community.
If I may, Mayor, basically, Tim did a great job talking about the different approaches that you're seeing that the states are implementing. Each state is looking at different. I would encourage the council to direct us to take a science-based approach. That means possibly with restrictions, but it is based on the science. There are certain states that have just done a total ban right now, just banned it. So that's what I would encourage, that the resolution is encouraging those state legislators and DEQ to embrace more of a science-based, which, by the way, is what the EPA supports.
Well, and we went to the Mayor's Congress through OML, and this was one of the bills that was actually presented, pretend like on the floor, that we did give to the legislators. And that's exactly what we asked for them to do, is to have DEQ get involved and have a plan. I don't like that this is put on fields and that type of thing. I also don't like us having to spend a whole lot of money either, but it's not gonna die. Like, we're gonna have to figure it out one way or another. And they're finding out now, maybe through science, that this isn't the best use is to put it on our fields, and so we gotta figure out something for sure. But the DEQ was the recommendation of OML, but I don't see any of that in any of those bills, so maybe next year we can.
And just another point, a couple of years ago, the council, working along with our legislators, helped get Broken Arrow, myself, put on a DEQ Water Quality Management Board. So we are talking about this quarterly, and DEQ is encouraging a science-based. So a resolution to support that would help encourage it in the same direction.
I would definitely be for that resolution, is to get
Absolutely.
DEQ involved and to.
And then we could probably get the Mayor's Council of Oklahoma to get all of the mayors to also go to their city and do the same, so.
Well, in addition, we can take this to DC with us next week when we go to the Capitol and put it on the desk of our congressman there
Yep.
as well.
We got you.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
I'll second her motion for a resolution. I'm going to say that was a motion. Right?
Yes.
That sounds great. We will do that, and we'll come back to council with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Just a moment, that wasn't an action item, but you have the right to make it one. I'm just-
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and click the motion then?
Yes,
Will that help you?
please.
Okay.
Yes. There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Item 7C, update on the 2026 general obligation bond package.
Thank you, Mayor. If I can just deviate from the agenda for just a second, I wanted to let the council know, and I don't know if Mayor Calvert's going to stay for the whole meeting, but Mayor Calvert and I were asked by the executive committee of INCOG to serve on the selection committee to find the next executive director for INCOG. And Joyce and I work together, and it is a pleasure to work with her, and we will actually be in the part of the recruitment team. They've hired an executive search committee, and we'll be working with them and actually reviewing the applications and ultimately submitting it to the executive committee for that next director, for them to make a selection, which hopefully will be sometime this summer. And I just wanted to acknowledge her efforts in helping when finding the very difficult shoes of Rich Briere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, Joyce. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. So just a couple of things on the bond package. I wanted to mention to council, I appreciate the approval of the survey. After further review, we've added a question, and Lori's going to get that to you as soon as Aaron finishes up. And what I felt would be better is, when looking at the cost for a community center and then adding splash features, so we're going to add additional question, would you be willing to support a community center if it didn't have splashing features? Because the estimate for the cost to do the splashing features is around $19 to $20 million. And when council sees the whole package, which I'll talk about here in just a second, I mean, obviously there may be difficult choices to have to be made. So we were looking at, would the community be supportive in Elam Park with or without? And I'm sure that we're going to get some good responses to give council some good information in order to make that decision. So just real quick, I want to let the council know that by the end of the month, you'll have your bond books. Those are going to be submitted to you, essentially give you about a month to review all the proposed projects that are in there, and then we're going to have some preliminary discussions about the bond package, get some direction from the governing body, and then we're going to take a month break and do the FY 2026 actual fiscal year budget, and then we're going to come back, and Lori's going to be reaching out to all of you. I think it's going to take 3 meetings for sure to get through the entire proposed bond package and all the projects, because the first meeting, I'm going to, and I know that all of you are going to want to hear from the community groups, all the user groups that have a request. We're going to probably take the whole first meeting to hear from those folks and what they've presented to the governing body for their review. And I want them to hear from you and for you to engage with them. And then the second meeting and the third meeting hopefully won't be 4 meetings, but the next 2 meetings will be a breakdown of the propositions. So we'll be talking about those propositions of transportation, public safety, city facilities, parks and recreation. We had 2 stormwater packages last time. There could be, after discussions with the library, Tulsa County City Library, there could be a separate package, proposition, I should say, for that initiative. And then there's a couple of others that actual council consider. So we're going to break those down. So we're going to try to get those done by the end of the third week of June, because I know that traditionally it's been very slow because of vacations the last week of June, the first week of July or so, because we only have one meeting in July. And so I'll get the budget books to you for the projects by the end of the month, and then you can review those, and then we'll schedule some preliminary discussions, and then we'll come back in June and begin the real review of basically getting arms around this, and then we'll move forward and get ready for the public hearings around Labor Day.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, just real quick, because Oklahoma is the only state that municipalities run on sales tax, most people are not educated, like, don't understand the reason why bond packages are so important to cities. If there's people who want to say, well, if we don't pass these bonds, then your taxes go down. That also means your city dies, basically, over time, because your streets aren't getting repaired, your sewer and water isn't getting updated, and all of those things. So just briefly touch on, if we didn't pass this next bond, what could happen? Like, how long would it take us to continue to do the things we need to do?
Well, I'll answer the question starting with the cost to widen a road from 2 lanes to 3 lanes, thanks to Charlie Bright and Travis Smalls, is $7 million. The cost to widen
1 mile.
1 mile. And that's probably without a bridge. The cost to go from 2 lanes to 5 lanes is $10 million in 2025 money. Okay? The cost to turn an intersection from a unfully functioning intersection with a right turn lane, possibly left turn lanes or 2 left turn lanes, is between $3 and $4 million. The cost to build a fire station, by the time we get to do a new fire station, could be between $9 and $11 million. We're talking Warren Buffett money here. And the city's total budget for sales tax is nowhere near. And so,
Not to mention goes to our public safety.
Exactly. All of available sales tax for operations is dedicated to public safety.
Which keeps our city safe.
Which exactly, and it's all tied together. So the challenge is that we take in about $7 to $10 million in our capital improvement program, which we use for those smaller capital projects, like the purchase of trucks and vehicles for all of our departments, for actually just the basic capital improvements. There isn't enough revenue in sales tax or other revenues to be able to pay for the bigger ticket projects that are needed in a bond package. So in order for the city to be able to, number one, either maintain the roads, to widen roads, to build facilities, to do extension to facilities, to build parks, and to do real, and ask them for general obligation bonds, because you can either that or judgments. And so I was going to let you know is that the plan is probably 3 letters from my office this year and 1 or 2 before the election. And one of those is going to specifically focus on why can't we use sales tax in order to do this. And so I'm glad you brought that up, Mayor, because I didn't know you were going to, but I'm glad you did, because we have a series of communications and transparency to talk about trying to overcome the objections, because not everyone understands exactly why we have to do this and what happens if we don't do this. Okay, because if we don't have the bond packages, if voters don't approve this, then it becomes very challenging to maintain the streets that we have, the aging of city facilities. It just, the ripple effect would be negative in every single respect if in fact, and our voters have always shown a propensity to support bond packages, but there's no more better time in this history than the need for transparency and communication about why these are important, because as Farhad mentioned in the previous meeting, there's a lot of people that are new to Broken Arrow. The folks that have been here a while understand the importance of maintaining our public infrastructure and the effect it has on quality of life. But for our new citizens, that's who we also have to let them know. They may be coming from another state where they might have the funds to be able to do so. And so it's incumbent upon the council and the administration to provide that public education, and that's a part of this initiative. My plan is we're going to be so transparent that people are going to say, shut up, Spurgeon, just vote. Let's get to April 7th. Because everyone's going to be aware of what's happening and why we need to do this. So we're very excited about this, but it really starts with the council members seeing the package, giving direction, and then leading up to the public forums. I mean, we have been doing community engagement with 3 or 4 surveys, with going to different organizations, talking to all our community groups, and everyone is buying into the notion, because they understand, because they've been a part of this process before, of why it's important to go out and support bonds. We'll have the support, I believe, we have the Chamber CEO and the Vice President. They're on the steering committee. We have Rosalind Van Jackson from the school district, like we did basically 2018. So we've got our partners involved. We supported them. And so this is going to be a real community effort. And I think that when we get to that point, everyone's going to feel very comfortable that this is a great package that's going to continue to move our community forward.
I was just going to say, I've had the opportunity to attend a lot of neighborhood meetings since the beginning of January, and a lot of your department heads have also been there, like Chief Arnold, Tim Wilson, and Charlie Bright, and they do not miss an opportunity to start making people aware of the bond package coming up and what it is that they can, you know, what it'll do for our city. And so, I mean, they've done a lot of meetings, and so I think that's really good for them to like kind of start making people be aware, like be on the lookout. And I know every time you talk in the public to someone, you do the same thing. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. it's
Well, there's
important.
going to be a phase pretty soon in the fall, actually, where we start looking at where we're going to go to do public education. Because remember, the city council and my administration can't say vote yes. We can only do public education. And so all of those homeowner associations, we're going to reach out to them and ask them if council members can come to actually answer questions about the bond package. And so that engagement now is really going to help us in the future in terms of explaining why it is important to look at approximately $400 million package and what that's going to do for our community in terms of additional road widenings, additional parks and recreation facilities, possibly a new community center in the southwest part of our city, which we know last year scored very high from those 4,000 people that responded. And so, I mean, this is an incredible time for our community and the opportunity for us to engage with them, because the scores came back in the survey last year that very high in transparency and very high in trust and direction that the council is going at this time. And so I think we need to capitalize that with more public education about why this is important, and then that way everyone will feel very educated in terms of when they go into that voter booth that they have the right information to be able to make a good informed decision.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council. There is none. Item 9 is general council business. 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible direction to amend Section 10.3, manufacture, sale, and use of firearms. I love talking about fireworks. Michael Spurgeon.
Yes, ma'am.
Council Board.
We're actually talking about fireworks a couple months earlier than we normally do. So last year was a unique year in that in the time that I've been here, I don't remember that both days actually were rained out.
Yeah.
And I know all of the council members were inundated with communications going, is there going to be an alternate date? Now, there are certain rules and of the ordinances that allow the city manager to deviate from, but in the case of the fireworks ordinance, it's pretty black and white. Is there isn't a provision that someone has the ability to make a call to actually extend those days. And so, since we're not anywhere near 4th of July, I think it's worthy of a discussion of the council members to allow, I would say, either the mayor or the city manager or their designee to actually make a call within a short window of time. Say, for example, if it's the 3rd and 4th, that there could be alternate dates up to 7 days to the 11th, to where those could be shut off. If we're going to, because I don't know if we'll ever experience 2 days in a row, but still it is 2 days. And I think there needs to be a mechanism that someone can make that call. Now, obviously, that everything needs to be looked at if there's an alternate date selected, what are the factors we would take into consideration? But I do think it's something worthy of discussion of council, and we'd like to have some direction.
You're not saying they can shoot all the way through the 11th?
No.
Okay.
We would pick, for
Because I-
example,
Pick a-
if we
Maybe
lost.
you could just like if the
Like a
3rd
rain
and
out day.
4th, then it's the 5th, and then, or whatever.
We would give it, if for example, if the call could be made for 2 days or 1 day, whatever council agrees, then it would be up to like the 11th, and then whoever had that authority would say July 9th is the day that you can shoot fireworks. But I don't think we should extend it out for any time but about a week.
And this was brought up at one of the neighborhood meetings that I attended, is they wanted to know if we had a plan, if it rained again this year, for the fireworks. And so that's when I asked to put it on the agenda, just so we could get a plan.
Johnny's going to tell us how he
I
hates
hate
fireworks.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but from my perspective, I'm opposed to fireworks, and I shot them off when I was young. We went down to out the Verdigris River, or we went down to Illinois River, and we shot them off because there's a lot of people in this community that really don't like the fireworks. And that being said, I take our family and we go to Williamsburg, and huge fireworks display. So it's not that I don't like fireworks, it's just that, you know what I mean, I just like for it to be out and be a large fireworks instead of annoying my neighbors. That being said, I think...
We won't be nominating Johnny to make that decision.
He will not be making the call.
I was just going to let you know, I don't want to make that call. That being said, we're not changing whether or not the ordinance is right now that you can fire fireworks. It's just in case of rain, the date change, that somebody's there to choose it. And I'm for that 100%. So you're surprised, right, Mayor?
Yeah.
I still rather you take your fireworks outside the city, but I'm certainly in favor of somebody making that decision of that ordinance.
I would recommend council consider amending the ordinance, and Trevor can do a great job of coming up with it. And obviously, a lot of the administration of the day-to-day operations is city manager, so I would recommend to give the city manager that authority to do it. And then the direction I need is that, do you want it to be 1 day or 2? So in other words, if you lose 2 days, do you want it to be 2 days? Because I need the clarity in the ordinance, or you just want to say, even though you lost 2, we are going to allow 1, because I personally think it needs to be just 1 day because of just how challenging fireworks are within our community, because there are a lot of people every year that come and say, and so to allow it to be 2 days, I think a good compromise would be 1 day up until July 11th.
I think that's a good idea, and because if people don't shoot them off the 3rd, saving them for the 4th, and then it rains on the 4th, then at least you're giving them another opportunity to go ahead. And I think 1 day is fine. And I think you would be the best person to make that, because you have all the connections to get communication out and everything else. And so.
I'm not opposed to 1, but my devil's advocate side here says, we pick 1 day. There are people who work, so are we going to pick 1 day that's a weekend day, or, and some people have to work on the weekends. So giving them 2 options may have some validity as well.
I did think about that I did think about the weekend might be the best. So that's why I said 7, but thinking about it in the middle of the week, you might need up to 10, but having it on the weekend might be the best for allow people to be able to shoot.
But I think that's when we let the city manager pick the date, because then, the 4th lands on a different day every year. So that's why I think it'd be good to let him pick the.
So probably best to say it to no later than the final days, July 15th, because that makes sure I get a weekend in there.
Right.
Because the weather forecast may be where that weekend may not be conducive to shooting them off. And so we met early in the week, and then maybe have to be a Sunday based on the weather forecast. But certainly want to get your input.
So then the other side, for me, like thinking about it, so for instance, this year, the 3rd is a Thursday, then 4th is on a Friday. If it rained both of those days, obviously you would just say Saturday. I almost feel like it should just be the next day, because the people who are like the PTS and that deal with they're like, oh, okay, the weekend's done. I don't have to worry about it. But if they are like, well, crap, they're going to shoot it off on the 11th now. So now they have to prepare for the 11th or whatever. So it's almost like, in my opinion, should just be that following day.
That perfectly works well too.
But again, a lot of people will be going back to work that following day.
4th of July has fallen on a different day every year since the
Right.
history of, I think it was 1776,
Right.
actually.
My staff is hey, listen, my staff is out there laughing. They're having such a good time listening to all this.
Weekend. The next day is not always going to be a weekend.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think we should let the city manager determine what would be the best next day.
Right, we gotta give them that direction that we wanna do it
Yeah.
the next day, or give them that 10-day window, or a 7-day window, or what we wanna do. That's why we're having the discussion.
Well, I'm glad we're going to get the rain, because you remember how hot it got last year.
We're canceling all the rain.
So where have we landed here?
So do you have direction?
My
Clear as
recommendation would
mud?
be, but my recommendation would be one day has to be before July 15th.
Works.
Yep. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Is this an action item? We should make the motion.
We'll have it on the next agenda, Trevor?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did I cover everything, or do you want to add anything?
I have what I need.
Okay.
Okay.
Quickie. Who made the motion?
We're not voting on it,
I
though,
don't
right?
think we're voting on it until next
No, it's just
time.
to put the ordinance together.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you make a motion, put the ordinance together, you not need to make a motion.
I made the motion. I clicked it.
I'll second it, that'll clean it up.
There you go.
It's a motion to make a motion.
To amend.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, there are no preview ordinances. 11 is our ordinances. 11A, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3851. Trevor.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. Ordinance number 3851 for you for consideration tonight sets the compensation for City Council and for the mayor. Sets the City Council compensation at $9,000. It sets the mayor compensation at $12,000. It also provides that the payment would be made at the same time that city employees are also paid on the biweekly schedule. It designates that city council members are not entitled to deferred compensation. It also provides for cessation of payment upon vacation of the office. And then finally, it also recognizes that reimbursement for expenses are still allowed. And then finally, it does provide that council does not revisit the issue of compensation again until April 1st of 2029. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. This is all pursuant to the discussion and the direction that we had at our last meeting.
Yeah, and I had reached out just because my concern was even going like future-wise, like I didn't want this to be like brought up every single time, like we need more money, we need more money. Like I wanted it to be where it was set and not have to, so.
And I felt 5 years was a good time frame that if the council chose before then, because the council can't pass legislation that binds a future council. So a future council could actually look at this. This just says is that this ordinance says that they won't look at it again. In 5 years, the council may decide they want to look at it again based on job description, looking at where that is compared to other communities, and they'd have that opportunity with the same guidance that obviously if there was something was an increase, you can't be in the same, you can't receive it in the same turn in which you're in.
And no one signed up to speak against or for this item?
No.
I will say that I'm still certainly for this. I think it's very deserving, and again, I understand that it can't be in the time area that you're already elected, like myself. Won't be entitled to this, but it's very deservable. It's the city council, as I said last time, has changed in the last 10 to 20 years. The time has. I went through my calendar for just the last two months, January and February, and not getting ready for meetings. Like it takes 2 or 3 hours to prepare for a meeting like this. Maybe it's because I'm older, as Robert would say, but I had over 100 hours just in those 2 months of meetings, that I had actual meetings and time that I was meeting and whatever. So it's very time consuming. So I think this will help, you know what I mean, at least relieve a little bit. It'll help pay for the gas because we don't turn in travel. If you drive from the northern part of Broken Arrow to the southern part and back home, that's 20 miles a day. You know what I mean? You're going to just a meeting. So that's some compensation that's going to compensate. So I'm for it 100%. And I make a motion that we approve the ordinance number 3851. And I'll hit the button.
I'll second that motion.
All right, item 11B, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3849. Trevor again.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance before you amends our exotic animal ordinance as we discussed at our last meeting. It removes the special committee that we had, and it defers to a veterinarian and our department, the director of animal control. That was the only change that we'd made. So our recommendation is that you pass the ordinance and then approve the emergency clause. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have over this ordinance.
Did we take out the turtle thing?
Yes, sir. As we discussed, we did not include a change to exempt any specific type of exotic animal.
Turtles are safe.
Turtles are safe. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 3849.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. It is funny because there, back, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was illegal to dance in the street in Broken Arrow. So ordinances change, right? There are just things that change in our city that we have to review and look at. And it seems strange sometimes when it comes before us now in today's times, but it's like back then there was a reason. There's something going on with the turtles. I don't know. Or kangaroos and all kinds of things.
Don't get in your bathtub either.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to pass the emergency clause as well.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Okay. Remarks by governing body members. There's a little street festival coming up on March 15th. It's the 11th year of the Shamrock the Rose event that I've been putting on voluntarily for Soldier's Wish, and it's coming along. And it should be pretty fun, 5 to 10 p.m. on Main Street. Live music, food trucks, street vendors, kids zone. Live music on both ends, actually. So there's a beer garden, a VIP area, and all the proceeds go to Soldier's Wish. So I invite everyone out.
Free to attend.
Free to attend. The beer garden and the VIP are the ticketed, but that goes towards the fundraiser. But the rest, bring your lawn chairs. And last year we had about 19,000 people, I think. So just a small street festival. So invite everyone to come.
It's getting bigger too, isn't it?
Yeah, so, yeah.
I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and recognize our Boy Scout troop in the back. They did a wonderful job with the pledge.
He did.
All the young people and their commanders or leadership, we thank you guys for being here. It's always a pleasure to see young people interested in the civil process and participate in things like this. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but thank you all for being here tonight.
Yes.
You should plug U City Council.
Yeah, I was
while
going to say, you
have
should
a
plug U
audience
City
in.
Council.
Yes, for those of you who are interested in the civil process, we do have a youth city council that runs from your sophomore year to your senior year. It's a 3-year program. It's pretty incredible. There's 2 pretty incredible city councilors who are liaisons to that. They get to learn about all the different processes that we do here in the city, all the various departments. They get to travel with us from the state capitol to our seniors are going to Washington, D.C. with us next week. If you're interested in Youth City Council, feel free to talk to one of us or jump on our website, talk to any of our city staff.
Very good.
I have a couple of things real fast, a point of privilege. On this weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, is the Winter Guard International Competition at the Broken Arrow High School. This is the first time it's ever been held in Broken Arrow, and there'll be groups from 7 states that will be coming to Broken Arrow for the first time to compete. So, several thousand people coming, so it's going to be a great impact for our city, as well as opening up to a lot of people that never have been here before. So,
can you tell the non-band kids what Winter Guard
Winter Guard is?
Winter Guard is okay. So I'm trying to figure out how I can make it easy. So basically, you take the color guard, which is a choreographed performance where they're using flags, rifles, those types of things, and they have an 8-minute time frame that they do their performance, and they're graded on it, and then they, win international prizes for those types of things. Which I'm segueing into the Broken Arrow High School show choir. Actually went to Minnesota and swept the grand championship as well. So lots, and then also the Broken Arrow High School wrestling, the 2025 6A state champs. So lots of exciting things going on with our high school age students.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Anyone else? City Manager?
Two things, Mayor, thank you. Just wanted to let the council know, next week we start budget week for FY 2026. Patient request, and actually putting the end of April, early May, and then we will schedule meetings to review the budget. And just a quick reminder is that those budget hearings will be held in May, and then council will have the public hearing at the first Monday in June, and then possible adoption at the third Monday in June. So it's that time of year to focus on that very important process of the municipal budget. So,
Okay.
and that's all I have, Mayor.
That's it, okay. All right, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Okay. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Pickle,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here?
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a motion and a second. Roll call, please. There are no public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, or awards. No general authority business. Remarks by governing body members? Seeing none, City Manager?
Madam Chair, just a quick shout out to Kenny Schwab, Tim Robbins, and his team for putting together that boiling down that very complicated topic of biosolids into a great presentation. And I thank you for your willingness to be a leader on this, because it's important for many reasons. And so thank you very much.
We have no executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Okay. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call.
Pickle,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here?
Parks,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. No public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, or awards. There's no general authority business. Any remarks by governing body members? Well, I'll just say, we've mentioned it a couple times, we are traveling to DC this week, so just prayers for safe travel.
Yes.
There and back, and that we get a lot of really good information through our committees and bring back some good stuff, so,
And our time spent with our congressman is productive.
yes. City Manager?
I do, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. First off, I consider zoning and the housing study to be economic development related, so I'd like to send a shout out to Rocky, his team, Amanda and Farhad, for the great presentation they gave earlier and the direction that you gave. Also to the Planning Commission. That special joint session went really well, and they were fully engaged, and I know the council appreciated that. I could just tell from the interaction, and we probably should actually try to do a couple of more of those, because I know they appreciated it. They all came up, almost all but one came up to me and mentioned how much they appreciated that, and so I think we have some good direction. Just a reminder is that we will have an incentive committee from the housing that will be consisted of city, and I'm really, council knows this, but I want to make sure the public hears this, is that the city and the school district and the chamber are going to be working on the possible incentives for housing to help within our community. And I think they're going to try to move quickly to be able to come back in the next 3 to 6 months with some recommendations for the governing body to look at, as well as the school board. And so that's been something, those meetings, and it was obviously a very condensed time, but I could tell you those meetings were very educational in terms of the school district, the boundaries, the number of kids, their focus, as well as they learned a lot about us in terms of how we proceed. And so I just want to send a shout out to everybody that served on that committee and their willingness to meet with us. And also, all of you all serve on committees, but for the mayor and vice mayor, for their participation, because their meetings were lengthy. And so I appreciate your help. You know, and also we have James Bell and Lori Lewis, and I just thank them for all that they're doing. I know they've got some economic development initiatives they're working on, and actually a lot of things are happening. So I just want to say thank you to them for all they're doing, and I'm glad they come to every one of your meetings. So that's all I have.
I'll just do a final thank you to our employees, our 25-year ones. That's pretty neat. And it was also really neat that I actually had 2 classmates on that list that worked with the city for 25 years. Love pointing that out. So there is no executive order, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
That worked out.
We're adjourned.
7:40. What are we going to do with our evening?
We're not today.